Hello, or whoever you are, wherever you may be, you've obviously clicked on this video because surrender is something that in some way resonates with you on your journey, in your life, and your experience. My guess is it's something that a lot of the time through experience with others that have come to me and I've spoken about with surrender too. How can I surrender is a question that comes up a lot. How can I surrender? Of this spiritual awakening, this kundalini activation, arising, whatever, or just in day-to-day existence, this idea of surrender comes up, because life is happening, and a lot of the times things happen that we wouldn't necessarily consciously choose to play out the way they do. And that's the first invitation to surrender, I think. Is sitting in the back seat, so to speak, or in the passenger seat. Because there is no doing, ultimately, and there is no doer. So how to surrender? This is something I've looked into day and night. many, for years. I've searched and I've tried different methods, hundreds of methods that I can think of, maybe thousands. And I've tried being every certain way I thought was spiritually accurate and correct, and everything else, and I was kind of left with a conclusion, really. So how to surrender? You can't. There is no way you can physically do surrendering. There is nothing you can do to surrender. There is also nothing you can do to bring about your own peace. There is nothing you can do to bring about your own peace or surrender. See, surrendering, the idea of surrender, almost to me feels like an allowance. Surrender is already the state, is already the case, and therefore any doing is simply diverting from the surrender that already is. And the same can be said for peace, from what I've seen. We are already perfect surrender, and we are perfect peace, and doing anything else to try and bring it about is what leaves us with the feeling that we're not at peace and that we're not surrendering, and we need to do something special to surrender, a certain breathing technique, or we need to do lots of meditation and everything. And as I've said in previous videos, doing is not is certainly not considered wrong from this perspective, because through lots of doing, through years of doing, and only then sometimes can we realize, depending on our personality types, if you're a more extroverted extreme type, it usually takes a lot of doing before the realization presents itself that there's nothing you can do, and so there's no option but to surrender. And another way to explain surrender is being. So it's a non-doing, and so any doing becomes something other than surrender. Surrender. So surrender to conclude. Surrender is a non-doing. It's a non-method. In Denmark, in Holland, they have a practice. It's called nietsen. The workers throughout Holland are given 15 minutes every day. It's not part of their lunch break. They're given 15 minutes where they take themselves off from their workstations and they go and sit somewhere and have a cup of tea, coffee, and do nothing. The practice of nietsen. The practice of nietsen is not a concentration on the breath. It's not about not having thoughts. If thoughts are there, they're there. It's a complete non-doing and a complete being, allowing of what is present, not trying to be any certain way. This is also, you could say, a part of Tantra, and I know masters have even said this is the advanced method, and sitting in meditation with your eyes closed and focusing on the breath and the I am, the self, meditation on the self. This is for beginners. The masters have said that I've seen. This is for beginners. The man who's able to sit and do nothing, or woman, of course, it's like a new level, really. It's a complete non-doing, non-existence almost. And part of the brain actually relaxes as the part of the brain in the frontal cortex, which is responsible and lights up. Numerous of studies have shown this. When there's an I involved and when doing is needed, and my, doing, I have to do this, this lights up. And this has been scientifically proven to be also associated with a lot of negative emotions. And of course, when one is able to just sit and be with thoughts, distractions, with anything moving, it's not about not moving, it's just about being. This has a profound effect, an absolutely profound effect. And if you were to try this, you would see. It may take some time to begin with, but you can do this anywhere. It can be standing in a queue, it can be driving, it can be sitting down, lying down, it can be in the bathtub, it can be sat in the garden, it can be having a cup of coffee in a restaurant or a cafe. Doing nothing, meaning no effort is needed. See, in order to do this, the ego would often finds it very difficult, because the doing is needed and a struggle is needed for the ego to be believed in and to be there. That's what the mind is. The mind is divisive. The mind wants control. It wants to know what to do. It's a very doing thing. And being an adult, we've all probably learned over the years, we've been brought up with, we must do this. If we feel this emotion, we must do that. If we encounter this circumstance, we must do something about it. And this isn't to say that we should not do externally in the world. We all have bills to pay and we have to work and whatnot. It's certainly not a giving up. There was a big difference between what I'm talking about and just giving up and lying down and just taking it, so to speak. It's certainly not that. It's choosing different neural pathways to ones we've created over our lifetimes that maybe aren't as helpful to us now as we're becoming more conscious of ourselves and life. I believe Jesus, when he says that you must become like a child and then the kingdom of heaven is at hand, I feel this is relevant for surrender. Surrender is already the case. You are already perfect surrender. You are God. You are perfect surrender already. It's the doing and the belief and the identification in the idea that you are not perfect surrender and that you need to do something to become surrender, which is what causes suffering, and this idea that you need to surrender and there's something that needs to be done. This can be a scary process for the ego. I remember when I myself went through my kundalini awakening and I felt like there's no one understood and I was completely isolated, and who do I talk to? Who can I get advice from? And it can feel very isolating for the ego. And, but there's an ache. There's an ache. I felt an ache for a long time, Cherish the ache. Thoughts are helpful. Thoughts can be helpful in that they're pointing you towards an emotion, a feeling that's not been brought to consciousness yet. Sit with the ache. Cherish the ache. If you can't love the ache, just try to accept that you can't accept. And if you can't do that, try to just whatever it is, without a doing, without a trying to accept, just it's here. Okay, it's here. I know that surrender is something that resonates with me, but I don't feel surrendered. Okay. I still feel like I'm doing all the time. I feel lonely. I feel isolated. I'm doing something wrong, whatever the story might be. Okay, it's what's here. What are you going to do? The more you do to try and fix this seeming so-called problem, this so-called thing that needs to be fixed and healed, the more of a junction is going to be created, the more traffic is going to be created, and the further away from your beingness you will become. You know. Yeah. Well, perhaps that's it for now. Thank you for watching. If you've watched this far, feel free to get in touch if this video resonates with you at all. I'm offering one-on-one sessions if anyone would like some support and guidance. Or if you feel to just get in touch to ask any questions, my email will be down in the description box below. And it's been a pleasure. So I'll clock off now and I'll see you guys soon.